welcome to Allergy Dragonslair. My name is Martha Morgan. I'm a specialty diet and allergy chef. I happen to have celiac disease myself, multiple food allergies, and I am a mother to a child with over 30 food allergies. And today we have got some really great guests today. I'm just saying they're great. I really do follow them. I've really enjoyed their content, and we're going to jump into our guest and this really cool episode in just 1 second. So before we do that, I have to do my legal disclaimer. So the views expressed here on this show are the personal opinions and life experiences of ours and our guest. We are not healthcare providers or doctors. Please seek advice for your healthcare professionals for any diagnosis or changes to your healthcare plan. So now we get to go to the fun part, and I get to really introduce these cool people here. I have got the Alphagals with me, and they're Debbie and Candice. And see, I had to look at Candice's name because I've been trying to call her the wrong name all the day long in my head. So I had to make sure I was look over and say Candice. So anyway, thank you so much for being here, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome.
We're excited to be here today.
Thank you so much for taking the time. And we're going to dive in really quickly. The first question is, what is your basic definition of Alphagal syndrome for those watching or listening who don't know what that is?
Okay, so Alphagal syndrome, which is often referred to as the red meat allergy, as you'll probably discover in this conversation, is so much more than just an allergy to red meat. But in summary, what it is it is an allergy to mammalian meat and byproducts that develops from the bite of a Lone Star tick. Well, it's the Lone Star tick here in the US, perhaps 9 ticks across the country that can transmit this. But here we're focused on the Lone Star tick. And what happens is that there is a sugar molecule in all mammals except for humans and some primates, and it's called Alphagal, which stands for galactose alpha 1,3 galactose. And when a Lone Star tick bites another mammal that contains this sugar, say a sheep or a deer or something like that, and then they go and bite a human, they actually can transmit the Alphagal molecule to the human. And so what that does is it elicits an IgE antibody response or an allergic reaction from the human body. So, and that allergic reaction can look like any number of things, which is part of the reason why it's so hard to diagnose.
Yeah, and I'll add to that one of the things that has been really hard about Alphagal syndrome and the diagnosis of it is it's not like a typical protein allergy in the fact that symptoms occur pretty spontaneously. With Alphagal syndrome, there's a delayed reaction. So if you eat steak or dairy or a byproduct, say at dinner time, your reaction could take place 3 up to 12 hours later. So there's a pretty, significant delay that happens with Alphagal that does not happen with the majority of other allergens. So that's kind of like a unique little point to this.
And actually, symptoms can look like Lyme, they can look like IBS, they look like other allergies. You can get everything from itching and hives and flushing to swelling. We have had our share of experience with GI distress that comes on suddenly and urgently, a little bit of everything, all the way up to anaphylaxis. So it really does imitate a lot of things, complicating the diagnosis process.
That is some really great information. Thank you so much. I learned a lot just from that. You all did it very concise and just really great and to the point. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think that the biggest thing is the fact that from what I know of Alphagal as well, that you pointed out, is the fact that it can be such broad spectrum, just like celiac disease can be a number of different ways for different people, and that makes it so hard to be diagnosed.
Right.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
And I'll add too, with anaphylaxis, something I didn't realize for almost 2 years is that anaphylaxis does not always include hives and swelling. For me, I have a drop in blood pressure, so it can include hypotension, rapid heart rate, feeling impending doom. And, according to FAIR's website and other practitioners, if you have 2 or more systems at play, that warrants the use of an EpiPen. And I did not know that for a really long time. I always thought, well, my throat's not closing, or I don't have hives and swelling. So it's definitely been a learning process for the both of us through this as well. Yeah. And we just hope that what we share helps other people understand, the complexities and nuances, I'd say, of living with an allergy.
And how long have you had Alphagal, that you've known that you've had Alphagal?
Diagnosed?
Yeah, right. Diagnosed.
Yeah.
When 100% you had it, yeah.
Since 2019. So
Okay.
4 years.
Yes, same here. It's 2019.
And then how long do you think it took you all to actually get diagnosed?
Ooh, how much time do you have?
No.
I understand.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah, I think truthfully, I've probably had this since 2007 or 2008, and I would just go from specialist to specialist trying to figure out why I had the brain fog or the joint pain or the GI distress, and everybody would tell me there was nothing wrong with me. So after you hear that a few times, like you just kind of want to hide in the closet. And so I would step back from, seeing medical professionals until my symptoms got so bad that I would start the process over again. And did that for over 10 years before I'd read an article even on Alphagal syndrome. And then before Candice was diagnosed with it. And I was like, I was that friend, who was like, oh, that sounds, I have that. Like,
Yeah, although it was super comforting when you started to ask, but same for me. I actually was bitten by a tick in 2007 when I was pregnant with my daughter, and tiny, like smaller than a poppy seed tick was on my toe. And about a month after that bite, I started having wicked GI symptoms that I'd never had before. And it took over 6 months for me to be diagnosed with a wheat, sesame, barley, and rye allergy. But we now know that Alphagal can also have a strict GI variant component to it where people only have GI distress. And I'm almost certain that I've had this since then. And it wasn't until I was rebitten in 2018 by something. I never saw a tick at that point, but things progressed, really rapidly with my severity after that. So that was what led me to go to UVA. I got extremely ill for about 2.5, 3 months, and Debbie came and literally babysat me, fed me bone broth.
Yeah. Beef bone broth.
Beef bone broth.
We've learned a lot.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk off camera at some point, but yeah, like I was on a whole wheat high fiber diet for a very long time. So anyway,
right.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what we're talking about.
I totally do. I was just diagnosed for a very long time. I will say this, when I was at Faces this year, they had a very good talk about Alphagal, and I was really impressed about it.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Yeah, it was really good.
People talking about it.
So I was looking over your website, really did this too, by the way. I don't make things up. Some people are like, did you really look? And I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I? Anyway, so you really do have this fantastic blurb on there. A joyful mammal-free life is within reach. Ticks suck, but life doesn't have to. I love that so much.
Oh, yay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You're welcome. I really do. It stood out to me, as you can tell, since we're talking about it. So can you break down for us and share some of your journeys? I know you already have somewhat, but like, how do you take that saying personally and how you live that to your life, and keep things from sucking the joy out of your life, literally?
Right. Yeah, we like the little play on words there.
Yeah.
But it's true. Ticks suck, right? But life doesn't have to. And, as we've mentioned, we've both been sick. We both were sick for a pretty long time before we had any clue what was going on. And for me, I hated that meant I couldn't do things with my family, right? We're a very outdoorsy family. We do a lot of hiking and camping and kayaking, paddleboarding, and I couldn't go. But I didn't want my family to miss out, right? So they would sometimes go without me, and it was really, really hard. But I couldn't go because of my joint pain or the GI problems, right? Like you have to know where the bathroom is at all times, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So when I received my diagnosis of Alphagal syndrome, and Candice and I talked about this a lot, it actually brought a lot of relief. Yes, it sucks that I have this, but now I know that there's something that I can do about it, right? There's something that I can do that can hopefully bring me relief. And just seeing how much better I felt in those first few months after starting to make the lifestyle changes, like that was motivation to push forward. Mm-hmm. It hasn't always been easy. Like I'm not even gonna pretend that it has. We have bad days now even, but there are days where I can go kayaking with my family and I can go out again, and being active brings me so much more joy. Being with my family brings me so much more joy than even bacon or steak or cheese or any of these things that I can't eat anymore. And so it really put joy in perspective for me, and I seek it out now,
Yeah. And I'll add that, when we started 2 Alphagals, I think, we had been in such a dark place for a while, you know, like going literally from your life looking one way, your lifestyle being one way, be it, you know, Debbie and her family are super outdoorsy. We love to go hiking too, my family, but I loved, you know, my time in the gym and like being able to go on trips by myself. I mean, there were things that I kind of took for granted a little bit of what my day-to-day looked like. And when things shifted, and we were, you know, sharing our experience on our blog, we really wanted to share how our mindset shift and our mental health, like there were these foundational components to our journey. And it brought us to our pillars of how do we help move people through survival to reinvention to resilience and joy. And it's not always linear. You can backslide and kind of do it again, you know, but where do you find the small wins? Where do you find, you know, the new reinvented way of life that brings you little moments of joy, be it trying a new recipe or a tradition? Like we did Easter together our very first year with a family friend, and it was the best meal, and it was all Alphagal safe, you know. So it's being open-minded to the new possibilities. And I think that was really huge for us. Like we wanted to not just focus on all that we lost.
Right. And I would add one more thing to that, just in that it is a hard journey and it's not going to be joyful all the time, but we're doing everything we can to build that foundation, right? Candice mentioned mental health. Like we both really believe in supporting our own mental health and the mental health of our families. Like that's giving us a foundation. We believe in setting up our systems so that we are as prepared as possible when that reaction hits, because we'd love to say that it's never going to happen again. It does, and it probably will, but we know that we have our steps in place so that we can go from survival back to joy at a faster pace than we did the last time.
Well said.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to go on to the fact that we talked about it just briefly too, which is the fact that there's no way to encompass everything that goes on with Alphagal in one episode. So people will be like, you know, it's this. Yeah, I know, but we can't do it all in one episode.
Right.
So it's amazing. I've been cooking, you know, for most of my life, adult life. Since I was 16, I've been in the kitchen. So it still amazes me sometimes when people don't realize what has mammal in it, you know, like when people don't understand what gelatin is, when people don't understand the difference of vegan sugar, and it has to do with the filtration. And so it still surprises me sometimes that people have no clue what's in their food. And it's scary.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, like, you know, if you don't have any food allergies, you don't have any restrictions, I want you to like pick up the label and read the label and read what you're putting in your body. And if you can't, if you don't understand everything that's on the label, maybe you shouldn't buy it. Maybe you should find out what's in it. And I think that's the best way you can start to really relate to somebody that has any type of food intolerances, allergies, especially lifestyles that they have to, you know, do is read the food label. We all need to know what's in our food. So with that being said, what was like the most surprising thing or things that you've come across that you're like, I had no clue that I needed to look at that? Like maybe your top 5. I know there's probably tons, but maybe yeah. We might be here all night. So maybe like your top 5 each that you were just like, oh my gosh.
So sugar was a big one. We both, I remember we were sitting here because I was still reacting and I'm like, I have no idea why I'm reacting. And we were doing research for our blog and came across it and we both about fell out.
Yeah.
That was a big one. Alcohol is another one. I would say wine and beer can be fined with gelatin, milk powder. That's a big one. I did not realize that even some like local, more like clean wines, organic wines can still be processed with milk powder as like a clarifying agent. Man, toothpaste, I think was one.
That was one that got me where I was like, I'm doing everything I can. And she's like, what are you brushing your teeth with? And I'm like, mammal.
Toilet paper. Almost every toilet paper company minus 7th generation, Quilted Northern and Angel Soft, I think are like safe ones for sure. But most of them contain gelatin in the way that the sheets are processed.
Bottled water. That's another one. And soda products. they can contain mammal. And I love that you suggest to people who don't have allergies to try to do that. Go and pick up a label and read it and see if you know what it's talking about, because I was brought to awareness of that when I did Whole30 back before my diagnosis, and I'm like reading the label on everything, trying to see exactly what's in everything. But the truth is even now, I have to look at a label and read it really carefully. We all do, right? I'm sure you do the same thing. And I have to Google it. Like, where is this sourced from? And lots of times I can't determine if it's plant-based or mammal-based for sure. And I can't purchase it, right? Like, because I can't risk that. So I like that you're giving that little insight to people who aren't living with allergies to what it's like a little bit.
Yeah. And for us, like, natural flavors is another like really sneaky source. So, I agree with you. Like, we try to share with, our community, our clients, try to be as whole food based as possible, because then your exposure is more minimal than trying to decipher this long list of ingredients that you might just really not know. And a lot of places claim to have proprietary blends that they won't share if it's mammal derived or vegetable derived. So, that's where the complexity gets us for sure.
I was watching your all shorts and I had absolutely no clue about the toilet paper. And I was like, what? That's one I wouldn't have thought of at all. So the toilet, I'm glad you brought that up. But the other toilet paper, when I was like, well, I think of topical because other people don't. So I did think of topical, but I would not have thought to look at the toilet paper at all.
Yeah. No, it's taken it's been a deep dive.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you got to just figure it out,
That's right.
And and I'll say, like, from a female perspective, like, and talking with Dr. Commons, who's one of the lead Alphagal researchers, there's a large majority of us in this population, as females in particular, that develop more chronic UTIs after diagnosis, and that could play a role in that. Mm-hmm. So just a little TP tip.
TP tips. Keep them coming. Keep the tips.
Yeah, check the toilet paper if you are having any of those issues.
Yeah, and I would add, not everybody is severe as me or Candice. We call Candice our canary, because literally, if she can eat it, everybody should be able to eat it or use it or whatever. Not everybody is this severe, but if you are still having reactions when you cut out the obvious things, you might want to join us on our deep dive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And like you said, everybody's a little bit different. I say the same thing with celiac disease, because I'm a very sensitive P, where my sister Cindy actually has celiac as well, which is Will's wife. There's a whole nother dynamic there too, but so we were like, welcome to the club. Everybody has a little bit difference. Like Cindy has a little bit more tolerance than I do to certain things. So like, she can eat oats more than I can. I can eat oats like once a month, if that. So everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you all point that out. I have got to listen to a couple of your podcasts. I love the name of it too. I like everything about your all's names. I just think it's so nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, but your podcast show is called In the Tall Grass with Two Alphagals. I'm sure there's some puns in here intended. Because, and I love puns. This is probably why it is. But so can you share things about your podcast, like why you started this, why you kind of went on the journey with it, what you're hoping to do, and what we kind of look forward to?
Sure. So as you noted, the name In the Tall Grass is a little play on words there, because the truth is, as you probably know, the tall grass is the most likely place you're going to pick up ticks, right? And the truth is that we're still in it. Right? We're still in it a little bit, but we're navigating our way through it. And we want to use that platform of our podcast, which we were so excited to launch last year, because we obviously have no shortage of things to say. We wanted to use that to help other people figure out how to navigate through the tall grass, right? Through Alphagal syndrome or another food allergy, or really any chronic life-changing situation that people are facing. Just looking for good tips for doing that. And also interviews. We've been doing a lot of interviews. We interview about every other week, just the most amazing, incredible people who are providing their wisdom and sharing it with us to pass along with you. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we love it. I don't know that I have a ton to add to that. Like, Debbie's an amazing writer, and I can talk to a stop sign. So it's like, can we please do a podcast so that we can talk more? So,
and she was right. We should have started it a long time ago. And I was like, I don't think we have enough to say.
Oh yeah, we have a lot to say. We mentioned diarrhea in almost every episode too. So we try to be authentic and just have real conversations and, bring different perspectives in. And not everyone on the podcast has Alphagal, like Debbie said. So we are really loving it and having fun with sharing, things that are important to us that we hope would be, beneficial and valuable to really anybody.
Yeah, the last episode I listened to, now you've had a couple more, obviously, since I last listened to it. But it was, you had your husbands on, and I really loved that whole episode. So that's one of my favorite ones. And then I've caught a couple of the interviews, and I don't want to say anybody's names wrong that you've interviewed, so I'm not going to say anything, but they were really good. So check them out as well. But no, you all are very authentic. I really appreciate that. I think everybody in the Alphagal community and allergy community really appreciates anybody that's authentic and sharing everything. And, sometimes just, diarrhea happens, and,
Yeah, it does.
celiac disease. Like I said, we got some stories. Okay.
That is the truth. Actually, we've got some really fantastic diarrhea stories. It is what it is.
It's what it is.
You get us when you get us.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's great. Thank you. Keep doing what you all are doing. I want to go, before we wrap up, do you have anything to add or cover, or anything that you really want to cover before we leave?
Well, I think first we would thank you so much for doing what you're doing, right? The more of us that are talking about allergies and conditions and these things that we're facing, the louder our voice is, right? And that's the only way that we're going to make change. It's the only way we're going to make the world safer for all of us, right? So thank you so much for what you're doing and for bringing us on.
Yes, and helping raise awareness. And we are happy to do more of a deep dive. If anyone has specific questions, we'd love to share again. So thank you so much, Martha.
Well, thank you so much for coming on here and doing what you all are doing, obviously. So glad that we're appreciative. It's one big old love fest over here.
Oh.
We're almost like, yeah, I know.
Aww.
It's like long distance hug.
There you go.
So yeah, I would love to have you all back on. Same thing. We should collaborate or do something later on. I do have quite a few people asking questions. So about lots of stuff. They're like, you need to go into this and go into that. And so, yeah, so community questions. Make sure you all that are listening, throw them at us. Make sure to go ahead and follow the Alphagals. There are Alphagals everywhere. Links will be down below. Ask questions. We'll definitely make sure they're tagged, all their information below as well. And check them out and follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more, information and for more episodes like this. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.